I am the drone guy. How many people have seen a drone fly? Let me start there. This is awesome. Okay, 2 years ago there was like one hand that would go up. This is awesome. I have 5 years of experience in drone. Many of the clients of Uplift are big insurance, property management, and construction companies. So my talk is going to be in 3 parts. Part 1, I'm just going to give you guys a very brief understanding of drone technology as it exists today. Part 2, how people are applying that technology to those 3 industry verticals I just mentioned, construction, insurance, property management. And then part 3, I'm going to go into how people are thinking about using drones more in the future, what some of the future options might look like. I'm going to be short and sweet. I hope we can have plenty of questions, and I want to hear what use cases you guys think of, what things you've seen so far, so we can get a discussion out of this thing. So drones, the reason they're becoming so popular today, the cheap cameras, the cheap computing power, really high accurate GPS means you can have really accurate flying robots. That's all a drone is. It's just a flying robot with a really accurate camera and a really accurate GPS chip inside. So when we're planning flights, when my drone pilots are planning flights, they're planning to the exact foot altitude with the exact degree angle camera with the right exact megapixels you need to take pictures of exactly what you're doing. But when you think about drones, all that exists today is flying robots that take pictures. That is it. That's the only thing we can do. All of the delivery stuff, anything else you hear, that's years down the road before we get to any of that. So right now we're on drone technology is at flying robotic picture taker status, okay? Now, what do we do with those flying cameras? Well, the first thing we do that everyone's been doing for years, and if any of you guys are real estate brokers or in the real estate industry, we take photos and videos. We make marketing videos for big stuff. And the first use case is marketing shots. And this is really what the drone industry grew up on. Most expensive real estate listings today have drone videos of some sort. Generally, the regulations surrounding drones, you have a 400 feet altitude cap. You can't go above 400 feet. I see some nods, people know that. You can't. If you're inspecting a building, which we do quite often, you have to stay within 400 feet of the building, but you can go above it as long as you're within sort of a 400-foot bubble around the building. You must have a pilot always, so that's my company. We have drone pilots. You must, let's see, what else? If you're going to fly within 5 miles of an airport zone, which would be Class B, C, or D airspace, you need to get special approval from the air traffic control at that particular airport. That's generally, also to fly a drone for commercial purposes, you need what's called a Part 107 drone pilot's license. It's a FAA test that you have to take to make sure you're able to fly aircraft in the United States airspace. So drones started with all the media, photos, videos, marketing. There's another piece of technology that once combined with drones, that's what creates all the new use cases, and that's what most of my slides are about. So photogrammetry is the ability to stitch multiple photos together in one big photo. So most of you guys have seen this with your iPhone. If you take an iPhone panorama, you know how you go like 1, 2, 3, and then it gets one big cool photo? Well, with drones, what we're doing is we're flying in a lawnmower pattern over, for example, a construction site or a field, back and forth, taking 1,000 photos and stitching them all together. And that's when things really start to get interesting. So the technology to stitch the photos is called photogrammetry. Then you have these flying cameras that are taking tons of photos. You add a little trigonometry to the whole equation, and basically the end result is whenever you fly a drone, you can get a 3D model of whatever you flew over. And that's what's really interesting. And that's what everyone's doing with drones these days, is taking the 3D models that you can fly from drones and developing new insights for the property management, for the roof inspections, for construction sites, for cell phone tower inspections, all that kind of stuff. And those are the slides I'm going to show you right now. So, slide 1. This is not a picture. This is a 3D model. This is a 3D model of an entire neighborhood that we flew right outside of Dallas for a property management firm. Okay, they wanted measurements of every house in this entire neighborhood. And it used to mean, imagine from a manual perspective how long that would take to take, or even laser scanners, how long it would take to measure every single house. This was 2 hours of flying over the neighborhood. And we flew really detailed, really low and high, and you produced this 3D model. So this 3D model can be uploaded into any 3D software, any type of BIM, InfraWorks, and can be used for a million things. And measurements from this 3D model are accurate to about 2 to 3 inches, depending on how well you fly the drone. It's different every time, but it's not as accurate as some other things, survey material or lasers, but it's accurate enough for a lot of use cases. So that's that 3D model. Now we're going to get into some, so that's part one of my speech, which is on drone technology and what it can do. And now I'm going to go into some of the applications that people are using. So you're looking at another 3D model. The first big one that we flew were roof inspections. We do about 150 roof inspections every week across the country right now. And they're used for a variety of different reasons. This particular client wanted to get measurements from the roof so they could install solar panels on top. So we flew over this target. I think this is in Schaumburg, actually. From our flight, we were able to create this CAD model, and then we were able to create this drawing from it. And this drawing is what they used to design the solar panel installation that actually went on top of this target store. Now that's, taking a drone, using that photogrammetry, creating a 3D model, putting it into your 3D software, and designing based off of it. The other thing you can do, this is now a construction use case, is you can fly over a construction site, and we got, here you can see we have a 3D model of the Earth. And now what you do with the Earth is, if you guys see all those yellow lines there, those are contour lines. So it kind of shows you, I believe these are 1-foot contours on the site. And so it shows you, you can see this, the closer the lines are together, the steeper the hill is. You guys, if you've ever seen a hiking map, it's the same kind of thing. What we do is we'll fly each week during the entire excavation process of a construction site, and you can know exactly how many yards of dirt you moved from last Friday to this Friday. And so people are now paying out their excavators, not based on like, okay, it's 10 weeks, we're gonna pay 1/10 each week. It's 200,000 cubic yards that you have to move, and we're gonna pay for every 20,000 cubic yards that you move. And so it's actually pay based on results, not pay based on time, and then you come to the end. I will tell you, anecdotally, we have solved a lot of arguments between surveyors and excavators and general. Everyone's yelling at someone else for not measuring the dirt right, and so the drone comes in, flies it, and everyone gets on the same page really fast. So that's been a really good use case for us. A couple of other case studies. So again, using this 3D photogrammetry technology, we flew, this was a Virginia high-rise. When they dug down, they found out some blue marl contaminated soil that needed to be removed. They kind of thought that the soil removal company was overcharging them for how much soil they were removing. So they didn't trust them. So they went back into the drone data and checked each week to see how much soil was actually being removed off site. Now the soil removal guy was billing on a per truck basis, 12 cubic yards per truck. How many trucks did I send to the site? Well, it turns out the guy was only half filling the trucks and was sending 6 cubic yard trucks, not 12. And so because that they had drone data each week, they're able to save, you can see, $32,000 in 1 week of soil removal. So that's another example where measuring the site every week, you can find mistakes that can save you money. In construction, the number one use case for drone data is this right here. These are called overlays. So what you're looking at right now is a very zoomed in photo, but what this is we fly the site, we create our 3D model, you take the design of the site, overlay it with the drone data that you just took, and you can make sure that your site is laid out properly. And you'll be amazed how many layout mistakes we find. Underground utilities in the wrong spot, anchor bolts are off 6 inches, right? We found entire installed tanks that were installed 2 feet off center where they're supposed to be. Talk about change orders, right? And so what smart construction sites are doing now is instead of taking forever to shoot every point and measure the site and make sure that everything's laid out where it's supposed to be, you fly the drone once a week, you do an overlay, and you see if you can detect any mistakes. In this particular situation, the pink line is a little post-processing to kind of draw the story from the picture. But the pink line is where that concrete's supposed to be. And so the moment we flew this and did the overlay, we double-checked it, and then they ripped up the concrete and re-poured. And had they not recognized it, it could have been a much, much costlier repair. We've done roof inspections. Again, this is actually the Macy's downtown Chicago. They were doing some renovations, so they wanted a 3D model of the roof so they could better design their renovations. We've done that. In the property management field, we're just starting to get it. This is really picking up steam in 2018 especially, thermal roof inspections. So almost in the insurance world, the risk is, so if you want to insure your building, they'll send a risk assessor out to make sure they want to take on the risk of your building. Well, now they're going to send a risk assessor and a drone out. And that's probably our number one customer right now, is doing risk assessments for insurance companies, whether or not they want to insure your building. And thermal is a really big part of that, because the thermal, we will detect and see if there's any water damage, any potential leaks before the insurance writes you that policy. The other thing we do is we also do claims assessments. So if you have something wrong with your roof, a drone will probably come out there to inspect the roof instead of someone walking on top of the roof as well. So that's another popular use case. Here's another example of a thermal roof inspection. Those are the main use cases in drones today. I wanted to talk to you a little bit more, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions about what's happening. Facility managers what they're doing now is they have like quarterly checklists that they use to like make sure that they're taking care of all the buildings in their entire portfolio. Part of those checklists are now going to drone data. So the facility managers that are actually being truck rolled out to go look at these properties, their checklists are shrinking, and the things that drones can do are going up. And the idea would be that along with a quarterly inspection from someone visiting the site, there'll also be a quarterly inspection from a drone. And that's really where I see in 2019 the growth the most, is in facility management for large property owners and property managers. When you collect drone data, there's a ton of drone data hosting services. You guys, if you're into the drone industry, you might have heard of Drone Deploy, Skycatch, Airware, Hanger. What they do is they host your drone data, and then you can start to build sort of a profile of your building. So you can go year on year, and you can look back year before, what did the roof look like? 2 years ago, what did the roof look like? We do pavement inspections from drones as well. What does a pavement look like? And people are using the drone data from all their properties to amass and really create their facility budgets for the following year. Okay, well, I drone inspected all my roofs. These 100 roofs need to be taken care of this year. They're in worse condition, and then I can create a budget for what's going to happen over the next 5 years. That's just starting to happen. In the longer term future, for construction, people are just starting. There's one company, actually Illinois-based, called Reconstruct, that is taking the drone data and matching it to the BIM schedule. And then from the drone, so you get a 3D model from the drone, and you get a 3D model from what the computer said the schedule would be. Put those two together, and you can basically create a progress bar for how well okay, we're ahead on the schedule over in this part of the project, we're behind in this part of the project. And that's definitely the number one research case we see happening in construction right now. They're still polishing up to make it so it's really, really accurate. For some other things that come to mind, the delivery situation everyone talks about, and I always get questions about these things. It looks like they're going to have tolls on top of power lines that Amazon has to pay, and they're going to use the power lines as a delivery mechanism, because there's a power line to every house in the country, right? And so there are people researching drones flying over the power line so they can come to every house. If you guys are all designing buildings right now, think how is the building going to get a drone delivery to it, right? That's very real. People are working hard at that, but that'll be years down the road. There's so many different applications. I could maybe we'll get to some of them in questions. So I'll pause now and open it up for questions. What do we got?
Property management. So I don't know if there's ordinance against it. I think there is in Chicago, but critical exams using drones as opposed to dropping a swing stage, and or a critical exam, a facade exam that will detail when you need to really start chip away to see where the problem is.
Yes. We do those a lot. There's specific software lined up so it can stitch, remember that photogrammetry? Mm-hmm. It can do it on a vertical face, and that's something that we've actually did some testing on the Sears Tower for facade inspections, but that is a big use case and will only get to be bigger. Now the critical part of it, I don't know what that is yet, so.
The critical exam, it's just when you don't pass, when your facade, you have ongoing and critical, a lot are ongoing. If we take over a building that needs a critical exam, that means you have to drop a stage. An engineer has to literally touch the facade. complete the form, send it back to the city, so it's an ordinance following thing.
Okay.
Other than that, ongoing would be binoculars or rooftop, viewing until you get to the critical again.
So the critical, I'm not sure about if it requires touching, and I would say more generally, drones and engineers are finding where one fits and where the other fits too. There's some things you need to touch, and some things maybe a picture can take over. But today, people are doing facade inspections with drones.
One more follow-up
Please.
question. On a building that's going to get a complete roof tear-off, would that be something that drone photos weekly to see it, or can it pick up thermal loss, or after it's done, photo imaging to see if the roof was properly installed and there's not any loss?
My answer is I think so.
Okay.
That's not a use case that we've done.
Okay.
We're really good at measuring and thermal. So if you can, whatever, and we can do it every day. So that's, I don't know, we haven't done that one yet.
Okay.
Any other questions? Oh yeah, please.
The drones that are planning to follow the power lines, there are so many cities in Europe and other places, they're actually switching the power line from above ground to underground.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that something that will affect how?
I think it will, yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's a good question.
They avoid storms, they avoid like damage by people, so if you hide it underground, it's like, it looks prettier as well, and it's, a lot of cities are.
For sure, yeah. If I was going to buy a house, I'd want my power lines underground. Definitely. I only mention that because I know I have some friends that are working on the power line tracking technology. I'm sure there's other solutions if the lines are underground. But it's interesting that they're actually putting tolls on top of the power lines. Like the drone company have to pay to use that power line.
Have you seen the usage of the data you're getting into as-built for especially like utilities? Big site.
That's yes, and it's more whenever you say as-built, I'm always hesitant because we are not surveyors, okay, and they do a job that we do not do, but we can work together. But certainly people are using drone data, and they'll fly weekly on the site and track every week, and they'll have it stored on some cloud sharing service, and they're delivering that to the building owner upon completion. So it's an as-built, but it's not a surveyor-approved as-built, if you know what I'm saying.
Do you merge together, or do they use like a surveyor? What your data is?
They
Work together.
we work. A lot of our work is actually for surveyors in general, and so they'll put their measurements on top of our photos, and it actually looks. It's like a much better surveyor deliverable when you can see the photo along with their measurements. Yeah, definitely.
Much better. And then
Yeah.
in that same thing, you've been doing pieces on rebuilds to do a scan before they do sites. The way we win a lot of our projects is we'll fly a 3D model of the site in the bid process. And a couple of GCs will put a bid out there, but then now they have a drone 3D model, they can put their bid model on top of and it's a really nice package. And then, oh, by the way, when we're building, we can use the drone as well. And so yes, that's a very common use case.
So it sounds like there's going to be a lot more drones. I mean, there's already a
For
lot
sure.
of drones in use. There's going to be a lot more, especially if Amazon uses the power lines and things like that. I guess my question is, as there are more drones in the sky and, there's competing airspace for drones, what kind of code changes or laws or regulations do you sort of expect to come out?
Yes, there are super smart PhD scientists working on that exact question. There is NASA has something called UTM, Unmanned Traffic Management. The FAA has their own people working on it. There's private companies. The number one is called AirMap. Everybody is working on basically how the traffic, red, green, yellow. What are those called? Come on, traffic lights. Traffic lights for the sky. Thank you. Okay. The traffic lights for the sky question is very much, and there's companies that want to go above the 400-foot barrier. There's companies that want to go beyond line of sight, so fly drones long distances. Airplanes right now have an ADS-B in each one of them, which means they're always broadcasting their position and their speed at all times and their direction. Drones don't have that. There's companies working on ADS-B for drones. So the question is a very good one. The latest that I've heard is that there will be sort of shelves of airspace 200 to 400 is for delivery. 400 to 600 is for mapping. 600 to 800 is for something. And in cities, there might be streets that are drone friendly and streets that are drone not, but it's certainly not a solved problem. That's
You're gonna have sky, you're gonna have infrastructure.
for sure. I will tell you, in 4 or 5 years in Chicago, there will be drones up and down the streets. That is for sure. Yeah.
Have you thought about using drones to inspect like solar panel fields?
Yes. Had I been better prepared, I would have solar panel slides. That's a really good use case. We can fly over a solar field, and in 20 minutes, I can tell you what solar panels are broken, especially with a thermal camera. Yeah, for sure.
It's very expensive to like send someone to inspect.
They gun each panel.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I was with them. Like, I can't believe this. Yeah, fly it. It's too. Yeah, yeah. So that we have a couple clients that use that exact service. Yeah, it's very cool.
Do you see any changes coming in the security of this industry? Similar to the Danielle's the first topic of data scanning everywhere, especially when these are being created all over the world. These drones flying over. Is there anything coming down the pipe? DJI being the example.
For sure.
For half the price you could actually make it
For sure. Yes, I do see a lot. So a couple thoughts there. First, there are companies working on, you guys know like Google Street View can blur out the license plates. When we fly over a house for an insurance company, we actually have to go into, right now it's post-processing, we go into the data and we scrub out the neighbors' houses because we'll get like side pictures of the neighbors' houses. Now it's manual today, obviously it won't be manual in the future. Another thing when you bring up DJI, which is the US military just banned using DJI drones, which are manufactured in China, because there's a rumor that the pictures from DJI drones are being shipped to China to be used for who knows what. Yeah, I don't know. So that's been the military stance, is they want their data to be held, so they're not allowing it. The FAA has said, we're out of the privacy game. This is not our responsibility to manage privacy. This is other people. We are in the airspace management game. So right now, it doesn't seem to be a clear understanding of who will manage the privacy situation, but it is absolutely an evolving discussion that at the late nights at drone conferences, we have a few drinks and talk about that for sure. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, we have. Yeah. If you're flying at a construction site, you better coordinate with the crane operators. Trust me, learn that the hard way. They say they're at 350, but sometimes they go higher and they forget to tell you. So we usually fly when the crane operator's on lunch. At the beginning stages, drones were a lot more dangerous and we'd have flyaways. It's very rare. The technology is much more stable and solid, and we haven't had many issues. It does happen. Thank you, everyone. I'll be around if you have more questions.